Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. It is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. I'd like to extend my gratitude in you listening to this podcast. It means everything to me, and I hope it is clear that this subject matter is so important to me. I care about our people, our future, and making a positive change in this nation.
This episode is powered by Poddex.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. This is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. Today we have a special guest, Wally Green. Wally is a professional table tennis athlete, co-founder of Spin New York, a ping pong social club. He travels across the country delivering empowering speeches at corporations, colleges, and retreats. He gave his very first TEDx talk in March and recently had a write up in the New York Times in April. He also was featured on the Steve Harvey's talk show. Welcome to the show, Wally.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you for being here. So, first of all, I want to congratulate you on your recent TEDx talk and the success from your coverage on the New York Times article. So, kudos to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And so I came to meet Wally on the Clubhouse app, and I heard about your personal story and found it quite inspiring. And I wanted to share it with our listeners. I feel that others would find value, and I really appreciate you being here. So let's get into that. And so you mentioned that you grew up in Brooklyn. Is that right?
Yeah. I grew up in Brooklyn, Marble Projects, it's between Coney Island and Bensonhurst.
Okay. And so what was your upbringing like?
So I grew up in a really terrible upbringing. My mom remarried. I don't know, maybe when I was one, divorced with my dad, and my mom married an abuser. So I grew up every day with since as early as one, watching my mom get beat up, and yeah, so it was pretty crazy for a young kid at that early age to see this. But this was something that went on every day. It was constant. And then as I got older, my stepfather would, tell me things like, you're going to be dead. You'll never amount to anything. You'll be in jail for the rest of your life. And every negative thing that a person could tell someone. So this was the way I grew up.
Wow, that was rough. And then uh, part of your story is that you ended up getting involved with gangs. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, because when I was a kid, because I really couldn't protect my mom at the time because I was young. So I took everything that happened to me, I took it out on other people. So joining gang was helpful in that. And the people that I was in the gang with was more of like a family to me. They're the ones that I looked up to. They're the ones that told me, "Oh, don't worry, you're gonna be good. You're gonna be good. Things are gonna be cool." And yeah, and that's where I headed. Already by 13, I already owned 6 guns at 13,
Oh,
and
wow.
I was going to a really dark, dangerous place. Sort of where my stepfather said I was going.
Hmm. Wow. And then you had an opportunity to get away from this environment and go to Germany. Talk about that opportunity and how it came about.
Yeah, that was actually crazy because it came from a sport which I hated. Actually, growing up, I hated ping pong. I never liked. A lot of people get surprised when I say that. Like I really hated this sport. I used to make fun of the kids that played it in my high school. So when I played football, we used to go to the lunchroom to the field, and there would be kids playing ping pong in the lunchroom, and I would always make fun of these kids. And it just happened. Like I was shooting pool one day and broke my pool stick. I got upset. I saw some kids playing, and like I mentioned before, I was the kind of kid that always took out whatever happened within me, I would take out on someone else. I would blame everyone else except myself. So I saw some kids playing ping pong, and I went up to them. And I was like, "Hey, I want to get a hit." And they were like, "What? You play this?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't play that sport." And then they were like, "All right, whatever." So the guy hit the ball to me, and when he hit it, I was trying to hit him with the ball, but I hit it on the table, and the kid was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing! There's a ping pong club. You should go check out this club." And I was like, "What? There's a club where people actually play this?" I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"That doesn't even make sense." But I was an athlete. I played every sport, and sports was another way to not be home as much. It was my other outlet. So my gang and my sports were my other outlets, and I wanted to go check it out. So I went and checked it out, and there were people playing. And the craziest thing about it is the people that were playing were black. And I was like, "What? Black people play this? Like, what?" And
Right.
people standing from the table making noise and shouting and all this craziness. And I was like, "Whoa!" So then I got interested, right? Because I saw black people playing, and I was like, "Wow, I'm interested." But nobody would play with me. Nobody would play with me. Eventually, this old guy came around, and he would play with me. Sometimes he'd beat me like 21-2, 21-1, and I would get so upset because here's a guy who's like in his 70s beating me, and I'm like a young, fresh athlete, at the top of the game. And yeah, so then it made me want to play more. And eventually, I met an Israeli guy who came by and said, "Hey, I'll pay you $20 every time you hit with me." I was like, "What? $20? That's sad. Let's do it." And I mean, I wasn't great, but I'm good at all sports. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much better than average at all sports. I learned really quickly with sports. So I would play with this guy, and we would talk about it a lot. We talk about my life, and for him, it was more like TV. So he really didn't understand, the depth of it till one day when I went to the club and a gun fell out of my bag, and he saw it. And yeah, so I thought, oh man, there goes my $20. That's it. And he actually called me. He called me like 2 days later and was like, "Hey, are we still playing?" And I was like, "What?" So I said, "All right, let's play." So I go meet him, and we play. And he said, "I want to invite you to my house." And I was like, "Your house?" And he had a house that was 2.5 hours away from New York City, near
Mm-hmm.
near the ski resort, and that's where his family lived. So I went up there and met his family, and I think he was trying to give me a sense of what family was really like, because they have a really good family. They eat together, do everything together, and then he says, "I really want to help you, and I'm going to pay for you to go to Germany to learn ping pong," and that's how I got to Germany.
Wow, that's amazing. And you mentioned that this essentially changed your life. Is that right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if I never, I mean, there's a couple of situations where it could have went different. I mean, he one thing that he did was he never mentioned about the gun that fell in my bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably if he would have mentioned that, I would have just probably ghosted him, right? Because I don't want nobody telling me what I can do or what I can't do, and I wouldn't trust him. So that's one thing that kind of worked out. He just never talked about it again, and yeah. So when he made the offer, I was like, wow, all right, this is interesting. And it was strange because the only thing I knew about Germany at the time was Hitler. So I was like, all right, but
Right.
whatever. And get out.
And what was it like in Germany for you at that time?
Um, it was really hard actually
Mm-hmm.
because I was an angry, violent kid, and just because I was in Germany, it didn't mean that the anger and the violence just all of a sudden disappeared. No, it was still
Right.
there. But all the kids that were there, they were so interested in me because I was from America. I was from New York, and everyone was like, "Oh my
Okay.
God, New York City, blah blah blah," and this and that, and it was hard for me to be angry, right? So there's a thing that people say is called killing you with kindness. Like that's a real thing. So I got literally
Mm.
killed with kindness, and it took me like a month to, maybe a little bit more, to actually figure out what the hell I was doing because I wanted to be angry, and it's hard to punch people in the face when people are saying, "Hey, man, you're the coolest guy in the world," right? It's
Mm.
very difficult. So it took me a while to just say to myself, you're not in America, you're not in your parents' house, you're not being abused, you're not with an abuser, you're not in a gang. Here, there's people that actually genuinely care about you just because you're you, not because you can pick up your gun for them, but just because you're you. And so it took me a while, but then when I figured it out, I started to change, and that was the starting point of the change in my mindset. Once I
Mm,
understood that not everyone was out to get me.
that's deep. And so, would you say that ping pong was an outlet for your anger?
Yeah, definitely. Because once I started to once I started to get better and then play around the world,
Mhm.
it was definitely it was definitely an outlet. Well, definitely a huge part of my life. I mean, even till today, every single thing I do, everything involves ping pong in one way or another. Like for example, I'm going to actually um, tomorrow. I'm leaving to Miami to do a Prada event, 3 day Prada event
Okay.
in Miami, based around ping pong. So I do talks in schools based around ping pong. Everything I do is related
But do
somehow.
you see it as therapy? Because you never sought
Yeah,
any therapy for that trauma that
no,
you
never. Yeah,
experienced.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's, deep, something that our people, we go through so much, with our upbringing and what we go through at home. Some people have to face a lot going through their neighborhoods or at school or bullying or, all these different things. And, we don't get the counseling that we, probably need.
Yeah.
And we have to find our of, therapy. For some people, it's a sport or exercise or, some outlet. So yeah, so table tennis worked for you. And you mentioned earlier that there's not a lot of black people in this sport. So how were you received over there in the industry?
Um, yeah, there there's not a lot of black players, and the ones that do play, um, I mean, the most, of course, will come from probably like Africa, maybe.
Okay.
France used to have one that I used to know. England had one. I mean, it's like very, very few. Um, but it was interesting because at that time I was doing hip hop as well, and
Yeah.
so a lot of people knew that I was doing hip hop, and it was kind of strange for them. People would say, "Yo, I think you're playing the wrong sport," because like, yo, man, listen. I've had all kinds of. I remember one time. I was in China, and I went to a local ping pong club just to mess around, and I went in and I said, "Hey, I want to play ping pong," and they said, "Oh, basketball downstairs." What? Ping pong and basketball does not sound alike, but
Right.
that but that's the kind of references or the kind of things that I went through while playing the sport, because
Hmm.
I didn't look like the person that plays ping pong, right? I would go there, I would have my chain on, I would look very hip hop because I was doing hip hop, and everything about the hood, everything about just being that person I was still there in my appearance. So I didn't look
Hmm.
like the person that played ping pong, but you know, uh, people thought it was cool, like because there was nobody like me that played this sport. So people thought it was cool. I didn't have to be as good as everyone else because I was the coolest person on the tour. You know,
I mean, how did that make you feel? Did that make you upset with the sport, or did you just make go harder?
um,
Or
no, no, no. It actually was good for me because I started this sport very late, and most people started like 5, 6, 3. I
mm,
started at like 17. So it would be so hard to be number one, and that was a realization that I had to come to. And once I came to a realization that I'm just not as good as a lot of these other players who've been playing since they're a kid, but I'm a lot cooler than they are, and I'm a lot hipper than they are. And once I figured that out, it was actually all good, right? Because
hmm,
there would be times when we would play in Asia and different countries, and I would be playing in the preliminary rounds, right? And normally it's very hard to get a TV table in the preliminary round, right? So in preliminary round, you probably have a group of four, right? So it's me versus three others, and we all play each other, or a group of three, right? And sometimes I would get the TV table two times in the preliminary round, which is crazy. Like nobody gets it. First of all, it's hard to get in the preliminary round. Second of all, to get
Mm-hmm.
twice in the same in the same group. And I remember one time I was in China and they were putting me on the TV table two times, and the first match I lost already, and then I didn't want to play my second match on the TV table. I just wanted to be in one of the other tables. It doesn't have to be the TV table. And so I went to the guy, the head, and I said, "Listen, why do you guys keep putting my match on a TV table? I don't want to play on a TV table. Just put me like in the corner table. I don't need to be on the TV table." And the guy said, "No, you are good for TV." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
all right, I see where this is going." And then I just ran with it. I figured out, you know, if I can't be number one, I'll be the most popular player on the tour. I'll be the one that everybody knows, and I
okay.
wouldn't have to be number one. Yep.
So they did embrace you in a sense then, and you were received well. That's good.
I mean, people think
And
I look cool.
yeah, so there were no, like, I guess, culture shocks in a negative way.
There's always culture shocks in a negative way, but yeah, there's always culture shocks in a negative way, but
Okay.
not in terms of playing the sport,
Okay.
because it is an international sport, so there are people
Right.
from all over the world. So it's culture shock in terms. I mean, they were shocked because you had this black dude look like a hip hopper that definitely looked like he belonged on the ping pong table. So that was shocking enough, you know.
Yeah.
My look was shocking, my crazy hairstyles. That was nobody's never seen that before.
Okay.
That was shocking. But in terms of uh like in a racial way, not that I ever felt. And if
Okay.
it was very subtle, like the one I told you where they said basketball is downstairs when I didn't even say basketball, I said ping pong.
Okay. So, in your opinion, can diversity be improved in the
Uh,
sport?
in this sport, there's a lot of diversity in this sport.
You do
Um,
see it? Okay.
because the thing is that this sport is the second biggest sport in the world. So that means almost every country in the world plays this sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost every country. If it wasn't for this sport, I mean, I wouldn't have half the friends I have. Half the friends I have are from all over the world. I have friends
Okay.
in every major country in the world, because of this sport.
But I mean, I guess from a sense of maybe more African Americans, maybe introducing it to more Black
Yeah,
children or things
yeah,
like that.
yeah. Well, in America, it's a basketball and football and baseball,
Yeah.
the mainstream sports. Yeah, I wish there were more black kids playing this.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes people like me to say, "Yo, this is a cool sport. Play it." Like it's really that simple. It's if you have someone who's from where they're from, understands what they stands, and excels in this sport, then kids will want to play it. So that's one of the things I try to do. When I'm doing, like, when I'm giving my talks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Letting them know that, yeah, I'm from the hood. I was gang banging when I was a kid. I went through the same thing you went through, and I found this sport, and the sport's actually really cool. And it's cool because I play it and because I'm cool. Kids like that, and the kids say, "Oh yeah, I want to play." I mean, I do TikTok videos, and I have kids
Mm-hmm.
all the time saying, "Hey, I'm starting to play ping pong because of you."
Oh wow, that's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, would you say that you are living your dream?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, the dream's not finished yet, though. I- I'm
Okay.
I'm I'm living some of the dreams, but there are still more to come. But yeah, I mean, I everything I do is based around the sport that I love. I mean, I do play another sport pro, which is paddle tennis. That's a different
Mm-hmm.
sport. So I play two sports. But yeah, everything I do is based around this sport. Everything, every single thing. So yeah, I
Okay.
mean, and when you can live your passion, then it's fun. Everything is fun. Even work is fun.
Right. That's awesome. And so, what is coming up next, or what projects are you working on next?
Oh man, I have a ton of stuff going on that I can't even keep. ever since the New York Times article came out,
Mhm.
I have an insane amount of people reaching out to me every day. Like an insane. I have talks that I have to give at schools, maybe
Mhm.
5, 6 schools. I'm doing a school graduation. Um, I got plus the product event coming up. Man, I got a lot of things just coming up, and I'm just trying to stay mentally sound.
Yeah.
I can, you know, like it's bad to spread yourself out too thin, and that's where it's going. But
Okay.
as long as your mental capacity, as long as your mental health is good, then it
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier. So I'm focusing on my mental health so that I can do all these things coming up.
Good. Good. And then, so that made me think of something else I wanted to ask you. Um, No, I'll move on. Let's see. So I did want to ask you some questions from my sponsor, Poddex. Poddex is the all-in-one podcast idea generation tool. So you can get everything from episode ideas to conversation starters for interviews, game nights. So I have a few questions from the good people at Poddex. So, what would you say is the nicest thing a stranger has ever done for you?
Send me to Germany on an all trip to learn ping pong. I don't think it
Yeah.
gets nicer than that. Yeah, send me
Definitely,
to Germany.
definitely. And then what do you do when you want to get out of your own head?
Oh, oh man, maybe play more ping pong. I,
Okay?
I like when it's a sport where when you're playing, you can only be thinking about that. You can't think about what happened with your girlfriend last night or your friend because if your brain just goes off a little bit, you won't be able to focus. The sport's too fast. So when I play ping pong, that's the only thing that I see. It's the only thing that's in my head. Everything else is blocked out.
Yeah. And then this last pod next question is, what antiquated invention do you still use? Is there some old school something that you still use?
That I still use oh man,
They were talking about the iPod touch
yeah. I'm trying to
kid.
think. I got to think about this. Good question. Wow, that's a really good question. Actually, I think everything is pretty much new. I don't have any. Oh, I have an old school method.
Okay.
Old school method. So I'm really, really bad with all these with using calendars on your phone or computer.
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm really bad. I actually write stuff. I print out calendar sheets and I
Mm-hmm.
write my calendar in calendar sheets so I can physically
Hmm.
look at them and see them. Yeah, yeah. Recently I've been trying to do the calendar in the phone thing,
Calendly. Yeah.
but the thing is like when my mind is really busy, I'm not even paying attention to my phone at all. So if I don't pay attention to my phone, then I'm not going to see what's in the calendar anyway. So if I write the
Okay.
calendar out, it's always going to be on my face somewhere. So
That's true.
that's one old school method that I still do. Just write everything out in the calendar.
Okay. Yeah, you might have to get on.
All right. It's
You
crazy.
might have to get with that one. So yeah, I appreciate you joining on to share about your story. I do appreciate that. I was going to ask you about TikTok, so you can tell us with the wrap up how people can find you on your platforms.
Yeah, I'm on all social media, but the one I do focus on most is TikTok.
Hmm.
That's Wally Green NYC underscore. And for Instagram, I just kind of do it for DMs, and that's also Wally Green NYC. But yeah, that's pretty much.
Awesome. And then you were a part of a game also, right? Is that still available?
Yeah. Well, no, that was 2007. I made that game with Rockstar Games, and
Okay.
that game and that company is what funded my professional ping pong career.
Awesome.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it
Cool.
was fun.
Okay. Anything else to share?
Um, I think we're gonna need to do a part two because we didn't get to the North Korea part. So we'll save that for later.
Okay, well, you're welcome here anytime, Wally.
Definitely, definitely.
So I do appreciate your time,
Thank
and
you very
you
much.
have a great one. We'll be
Thank,
watching.
thank you. You as well.
Okay, thanks. Take care, guys. Thanks for listening. At this time, we're going to go ahead and conclude the episode. We greatly appreciate you listening. We invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. On Facebook, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. We also have the new website up, www.wokebyaccident.net. Please check us out and also follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms, and please leave a review and share feedback. You can also reach out by Gmail, wokebyaccident@gmail.com. And every time you listen, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening and take care.